When it comes to business software, you typically have to trade off between price and features. So if you're starting to look at how to measure your visibility in AI answer engines like ChatGPT and Google AI Overviews, you've probably been comparing different AI visibility platforms. These are a new type of marketing software that lets you track your brand and content visibility in AI-generated search results from LLMs. There are a lot of AI visibility platforms on the market right now, and they generally fall within the same pricing tiers based on whether you want an entry-level or professional package. Most businesses will want something that lands in the $300 to $500 range. Low-cost options tend to be few and far between, and when they exist, they're very limited in terms of how many prompts you can monitor over time. But this is not the case with Rankscale. Of all the AI visibility platforms I've used, Rankscale is the one that stands out as having the fullest feature set, the lowest entry price, with the option to scale up very, very affordably. It's built with a lot of control over prompt monitoring, which I'll show you in a minute. This might intimidate some users, but it's truly amazing for the marketing do-it-yourselfers and anyone else who likes to dig into the techie side of things. If there are any trade-offs, it's that the user interface is not quite as slick as other platforms. You do get a full-featured dashboard, and you can share links to it with other people on your team, but there's no easy way to generate pretty reports without doing third-party integrations. But the data collection itself is excellent, and there are a lot of capabilities under the hood. Rankscale gives you both AI visibility monitoring and recommendations to optimize your content. It comes with a dashboard to let you measure prompt visibility over time and see how you stack up against competitors. This is pretty standard in the market and offers about the same functionality as most other AI visibility platforms. But Rankscale lets you get started for just $20 a month. This is the cheapest I've seen for any AI visibility platform full stop, let alone with the amount of customization you get from Rankscale. Of course, there are options to scale up. I myself started with the $20 plan just to try it out, and I liked it enough to upgrade to the $99 plan, which is the one I'm on now. I use Rankscale to monitor some prompts for my own brand on marketing and for some of my clients as well. I also use it for a lot of prospecting since it's so affordable to add prompts and I can run them as often as I need to. Let's go through these plans one by one. Rankscale uses a credit-based system that's based on each prompt you want to track, each model you want to track against, and the frequency of monitoring. Let's see what this looks like when you add a search term. I want to monitor a prompt that matches a blog article I wrote for my website. So let's type in, is it better to use a person's name or a company's name in an author byline? At the bottom of this pop-up window, you can see the credit usage per run. Right now, the tracking frequency is automatically set to weekly. The AI engine is automatically set to ChatGPT. So the credit per run is 0.25 or 1 credit per month. If I add models, you can see the credit usage increase based on which models I pick. By the way, Rankscale has one of the best model coverages of any AI visibility platform I've used. Most platforms let you run prompts across ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini broadly, but they don't specify the version. Rankscale lets you choose between the GUI or an API based on the model version, so if that matters to you, you will love this granularity. All of the GUI-based models cost 1/4 of a credit to run each time, except for Google AI Overview, which costs a full credit. These are the models you'll be the most familiar with, but you can also choose from a range of API-based models for anywhere between 1 and 4 credits each, including OpenAI GPT-5 and Google Gemini 3 Pro. Let's choose Google AI Overview, Google AI Mode, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Bing, and Claude. You can see that I'm up to 4 credits per run, or 17 credits per month. Now we get to decide how often to run this prompt. You can see that I have lots of interval options, including monthly, weekly, daily, and even hourly. I'm going to choose weekly for this one, which is fine for most prompts. There are times when I'll want to monitor this more aggressively, like if I have new content coming out and I want to see how it performs day by day. In that case, I can change monitoring to daily, but it will cost roughly 4 times the credits. Make sure you have the correct region selected and then hit save. Your prompts have been created and they'll run for the first time right away, and then at each interval you selected. Now that you can see how the credits work, let's compare plans. At $20, the Essentials plan gives you 120 credits a month. This works well for running a handful of prompts on a weekly basis. Using my previous example, I can run 7 prompts before I run out of credits. If I have very limited monitoring needs, I can get even more from this plan. Let's say I only want to monitor across ChatGPT and Google AI overviews. That will cost only 5 credits per month with weekly monitoring, which would let me monitor 24 prompts before needing to upgrade. The pricing page shows that you can get up to 480 responses, which is true if you're tracking across models that cost only a quarter credit each. Since ChatGPT only costs a quarter, you can go ahead and track about 120 prompts every week before running out of credits. The great thing about this $20 plan is that when it comes to prompt tracking, it doesn't hold back on access to models. You get the same control and the same performance dashboard as you would get with higher level plans. If you start to add a lot of prompts or want to track more frequently, you'll quickly want to upgrade to the $99 Pro plan. This gives you 10 times as many credits, which is plenty for almost everyone except for larger agencies and enterprises supporting many different brands and teams. In that case, the 780 Enterprise plan is quite spendy, but gives you another 10 times as many credits. Now let's take a look at page audits. The $20 Essentials plan comes with 10 page audits per month. Let's walk through what these look like. Page audits give you a performance analysis of AI visibility for any page on your website. This can be helpful if you're brand new to answer engine optimization and want to know where you might focus your efforts. Your home page is a great place to start, so let's take a look at mine. Just type in your URL. It takes a minute or two to run the audit. The first thing you'll see is an AI search readiness score. I usually take this number with a grain of salt, and I probably wouldn't try to include it on any kind of report to my client or team because it's a little bit of a black box result, and I'd worry about it changing without being able to explain exactly why. Rankscale will tell you if you've run an audit on this page before and what has changed since then, which can be helpful. In this case, it picked up that I added new content about LLM crawlers. The audit summary gives you an auto-generated paragraph about the website, which could be helpful to include on a report to your team if you're introducing them to AI visibility for the first time. It's also helpful that the summary tells you whether the site is blocked from crawlers, which is important if you want LLMs to find your content. Next, I get a score for content quality and relevance, which looks pretty good, although I could add more long-tail keywords. I also get a score for authority and trustworthiness. I'm not doing as well here, and Rankscale suggests that I provide more testimonials, affiliations, and social media. This is all true, so I think those are good recommendations. My technical SEO and page structure score is not bad. I could include more alt text for images, which is a pretty easy fix. I'll have to double check my meta information to see if I can make more improvements there. My engagement score is okay, although I could use more structured content and multimedia elements. In the next section, Rankscale gives me AI-generated suggestions to improve my content. I probably won't use these rewrites because I like that my web copy sounds like a human wrote it and not an LLM, but I might read through and find something useful to borrow. I do like that it gives me the justification for the rewrite so I know why it's suggesting what it is. These page audits are good for quick fixes if you need clear direction on how to start. They're surprisingly prescriptive, and there's a lot of good advice. I wouldn't use any of the scores as marketing performance metrics unless you find that happens to work in your favor. If you're doing page audits, it's a good idea to run them on your homepage, as well as pillar pages or campaign landing pages. You can do 10 page audits per month on the $20 plan, and you spend one audit every time you look at a page, whether it's the same page or a different one. The nice thing is that you can do more if you need to, but you'll use 5 credits every time. The $99 Pro plan comes with 50 page audits per month, which is 5 times more and gives you a whole lot more to work with, probably more than most people will need. The Enterprise plan gives you 200 page audits. Now let's take a look at brand dashboards. The $20 plan gives you 5 brand dashboard slots. The $99 plan gives you 25, and the Enterprise plan gives you 100. If you're a startup or a smaller company, you probably only need the one brand dashboard. Here's what that looks like. This is the brand dashboard that I set up for a book design software called Vellum. They're not one of my clients, but I use Vellum, I really like it, and I thought it would be a good example to show. Honestly, this dashboard is not as pretty as what you'd see on some other AI visibility platforms, but it does tell you what you need to know, and it is highly customizable. You can share a link to this dashboard with your team or your clients so they can also access the dashboard. But as I mentioned before, Rankscale doesn't have any real tools for generating PDF reports without third-party integrations. On the dashboard, you can see your average brand visibility across all the prompts and models you're tracking. This tells you about how often you come up in AI-generated answers. You can also see some other metrics like mentions and citations. If you have the $99 Pro plan or higher, you can also see the sentiment score when the brand is mentioned. This is not available with the $20 Essentials plan. If you'd like, you can change the time frame at the top. You can also change the aggregation. This is more control than I've seen with other AI visibility dashboards, so even though it's not the prettiest, it has a lot of functionality. I set up the tracking here only for ChatGPT, but if you have more models that you're tracking, you can filter by AI engine. If you've set up topics or tags, you can filter that way too. Below this, you can see a line chart of performance over time compared to your competitors. You can see visibility or choose another metric from the drop-down menu. I love dashboards that show performance over time because this makes it easy to see how your visibility improves when you launch new content, a campaign, or some other project. You can assign topics to group your prompts, and if you've done that, you can see performance by topic. You can also see performance by model. Because this one is only set up for ChatGPT, that's all you'll see here, but if I had set up others, they would also be on this chart. And finally, you can see share of voice and citations over time. You can get more information by clicking through the tabs at the top. Competitors shows the position and other metrics for your brand and each of your competitors. Under citations, you can see which sources are most commonly cited for the prompts you're tracking. This can be incredibly useful. As you can see that Wikipedia and Reddit come up a lot in the answers to the prompts I'm tracking. So if I'm on the marketing team at Vellum, I want to make sure I'm protecting my presence on those platforms and maybe encouraging my most enthusiastic users to answer questions there. If there are popular blogs that are coming up, you might consider a sponsorship or contributed content to that site. Let's take a look at sources, which is still in beta mode. This shows you the top URLs on your own domain that are being cited in AI-generated answers. It also shows you the top domain for the prompts you're tracking, which can be incredibly helpful for the same reasons I just mentioned. Let's look at the sentiment tab. Again, this is a feature you can only get with the $99 plan or higher, and is not available with the basic $20 plan. This is an overview of brand sentiment for your brand and your competitors. If you click on it, you'll get a summary of what people are saying they like about your brand or product and what they don't like. If you're on the marketing team, you might be able to pass some of this feedback along to product design. But you also might notice some things that could use some responsive messaging. For example, if the perception of your product is that it has limited flexibility for custom projects, you could put out a YouTube tutorial on how to use some of the lesser-known features. I love this map of positive keywords because my background is in product messaging, and I would consider using these phrases to build a messaging framework. I haven't set up topics for this brand, but you can do that to have another level of categorization. Finally, let's look at search terms. This is really the heart of what you're tracking. These are the prompts you've set up. You can edit them or add more. You can also click into each one and see very detailed results. Let's click on Best Software to Format eBooks for Kindle. This shows you a similar dashboard as on the brand page, which you can also customize by date range. Rankscale Scout is a new feature that's currently in beta mode. I can't quite tell if this is included in the $20 plan or only the $99 and higher plans. Let's hit it and see what kind of recommendations come up. This gives you a summary of your visibility score, a short analysis of what's coming up in responses, common sources, and some recommendations for how you might improve your visibility for this prompt. If you scroll down, you can see where your brand is coming up and in what position. You can see how often your brand was cited and the sources. You can also see the overall sources that come up the most frequently for this prompt. One of my favorite features in Rankscale is the search query fanout. This gives you similar questions that people might ask the LLM, which is ChatGPT in this case. So if you're looking for content ideas, you might consider writing a blog article that uses one of these questions as a title. Finally, you can see a full history of executions. When I say that Rankscale doesn't hold back, this is part of what I mean. Rankscale keeps a record of every single time it has run your prompt, and you can just click to view the response on that day. For example, Vellum showed up in this response as the third product recommended. You can see the citations from this day and the sources. This is really fun to look at. One thing to know is that by nature, LLMs are highly variable in that they give different responses to the same question each time they're asked. So sometimes, based on your prompt, you might not see any brands mentioned at all, or you might see different brands in different orders. That's why it's good to monitor your brand visibility over time, not just in a single snapshot. Look at this list of weekly runs, and you can definitely tell that certain brands show up again and again. Now that you've seen the brand dashboard, let's go back to pricing. Remember, the $20 plan gives you up to 5 brand dashboards. You might only need one, but it can be helpful to have more if you have multiple products or sub-brands that you want to track individually. With the $99 plan, you get up to 25 brands, which is a good fit for an agency like mine. If you're supporting a lot of brands, the enterprise plan gives you up to 100 brand dashboard slots. With the $99 plan, you can also export your data. This can be good if you just want to make sure that you can back up your records, but it's even more useful if you know how to use Looker Studio or other third-party tools. This will be your best way of creating custom reports if that's something you want to do. There's one other thing I want to show you, and it's a relatively new feature, but a helpful one, and that's prompt research. You can access prompt research on the $20 plan, but keep in mind that it uses 50 credits each time. Since that's almost half of the credits you get on the monthly plan, you'll want to use it sparingly. Prompt research is meant to help you come up with prompts related to your topic. Before you use this tool, just know that because OpenAI and other LLMs generally don't share their user data, any tool that tells you about prompt popularity is just guessing. Rankscale uses a proprietary prompt decoding method that uses LLM simulations to represent prompt data derived from real prompts. So while this is a great asset to add to your research, don't rely on it 100%. Let's see what happens if we want to come up with prompts for self-publishing book layout software. It'll take a minute to run the report. Once we get the report, it shows us ideas for prompts based on intent. So, for example, if your audience is comparing vendors, here are some prompts that you might want to create content for and start tracking. I think this can be really useful for brainstorming as long as you don't take it too seriously. Now, what if you're on the $20 or $99 plan and just need a few more credits to do some extra work? Maybe you want to track a set of prompts daily instead of weekly because you're releasing new content, or you're doing a bunch of prompt research to build your content calendar over the next quarter. One thing I really like about Rankscale's model, and part of what makes it so affordable, is that you don't need to upgrade to the next plan to bridge that gap. You can just buy extra credits a la carte. I'm on the Pro plan, so I can go ahead and buy extra credits at a rate of 8 cents each. So 100 extra credits cost me only $8 if I just need to do a little extra work. 1,000 credits cost me $80. This saves me from having to go up to the $780 enterprise plan, which is quite a jump. You can also check this page to see how many credits you have left for the month, whether you have enough runway for the prompts you're monitoring, and how many page audits and brand dashboards you have free. In short, Rankscale is a dream for people who want lots of granular control over prompt monitoring. Even if it's not flashy, it gives you more functionality than most of what's out there at an absurdly low price. I highly recommend that even if you're using another platform, you spend the $20 to set this one up as an additional tool. If you're like me, you'll probably move to the $99 plan because it's got so much good stuff in it and you'll use it all the time. Before you pay anything at all, I encourage you to type in your website or anyone else's into this box on Rankscale's homepage, and you can generate a quick audit to see if this tool might be helpful to you.